spiritual truth that I'm working with today is that God is an intelligible sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. God is an intelligible sphere whose center is everywhere and whose circumference is nowhere. That actually comes to us from the great Catholic theologian St. Augustine. And it very closely mirrors what I say every Sunday, which is God is all there is. God is all there is. You know, if the center of God is everywhere, it stands to reason that it is within you and I all of the time. We can leave in the dust this notion that we have to earn God's love, that we have to earn God's presence, that we have to earn God's supply. We can just leave that in the dust because God is with us all of the time. God is with us when we're thriving, and God is with us when we're faltering. God is with us all the time. Now, the truth is, most of us in this room, if you've been coming for a while, you know that already. But it also is true for me that it bears repeating to myself at least almost every day, if not at least every Sunday, that God is within me when I'm successful and when I'm striving to be successful. Maybe you grew up in a church in which the pastor said, you know, when you leave the sanctuary, the devil's waiting around the corner to just pounce on you. You know, and in some ways that pastor was right. Because for us, what the devil is lack and limitation. And when you leave an atmosphere like this and you go out into the world of effect where people are trying to find problems in the world, we sometimes get on their bus. Sometimes we get in their bandwagon and we try and find fault with the world as well. God is with us all of the time. See, when we understanding that we're in the center of God, that's when we can begin, that God is the center of us, and we're in the center of God, that's when we can begin to really experience happiness. We don't need to know it intellectually. We don't need to know about it. We can actually know it in our life. Well, we're starting a series that I'm very, very excited about. It's a series that is about wealth. It's called A Path to Wealth. Now, before we get going in this series, I want to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what wealth means. Wealth is a word that means well-being. That's the literal translation of the word wealth, well-being. It means your being is well in every area of your life. Your being is well. If you're worried about your kids, your being is well. Your being is well no matter what. Your being is well if you're having trouble paying the house payment, your being is well. If you're having difficulty with your family and friend relationships, your being is well. If you're having difficulty with your career advancement, your being is well. Your being is well. If you're having problems with that creative project you're trying to just get on the ground, your being is well. Now, it doesn't mean you won't have challenges in all of those areas, because chances are you will. But the challenges will not disrupt your serenity. Your being will still be well in the face of that. When we're there, we begin to embody that story that I tell frequently. And you know, it's a story that I could hear and serve me well if I heard every single week. Because, well, let me just tell you the story. It's about the Buddhist farmer. And the Buddhist farmer is, he understands this idea that God is with us and that it's the center of him, and he is well-being. He's wealthy in that area, in every area, because he understands his being as well. The story goes that the farmer has one horse, and the horse is to plow the field. And all of a sudden, and it's their sole income, and all of a sudden the horse runs away. And all the neighbors come over and say, I heard about this awful thing. I'm so sorry. And the farmer, who understands where his wealth is, says, maybe. And pretty soon, the horse, who went off and got married and had babies, comes back with the babies. And now he has 4 horses. And the neighbors come over and they say, oh, what great luck you have. How wonderful this is. And the farmer says, maybe. And the young son, who's his only son, who's the only one healthy enough now to drive the plow behind the horse, decides he's going to get on a colt. And he gets on the colt and he rides the colt and he falls off and he breaks his arm. And all of the neighbors come over and they say, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your bad luck. Now you don't have anybody to tend the plow." And the farmer says, "Maybe." And pretty soon the army comes to conscript all the young men, but they pass by the farmer's house because his son has a broken arm and is of no use to him. And the neighbors all come over and they say, "What good luck you have. Your son escaped the military." And the farmer says, "Maybe." See, we want to get to that place where we're fine no matter what's going on the outside. Doesn't matter we appreciate that that's what's good. Doesn't matter that we're not in touch with that which is hurting to us. But at our essence, we are wealthy people. We are well-being people in our lives. Now this series is based on a book called The Path to Wealth. Path to Wealth. And it's written by a woman named May McCarthy, and she understands this notion that God has her back and God will also light her way in the future every step of the way. She gets that. The thing about this, who is May McCarthy? Why would I get this book? May McCarthy, I like people who actually walk the talk. I actually like people who say, yeah, I looked at spiritual principle, as Ernest Holmes says, and now I can prove it in my own life. And she can. She started 6 businesses, co-founded 6 successful businesses. The last business that she co-founded, she sold for $100 million. So for me, she must have something she can say to me. And so she's written this book, and let me just say that she's going to be out here on December 6th. She's going to be our guest speaker on December 6th. She's going to do a workshop. She's flying out here on her own dime. We're not paying her way out here. We're not paying her a dime. We're not putting her up. She's putting herself up. She's giving the Board of Trustees a free workshop the day before, which is almost unheard of. I mean, I get opportunities for workshops for people who want to work with the board for thousands of dollars. I get those opportunities every month. She said, no, I don't want your board to pay me. Why does she want to do all that? Why does she want to gift to the board? Why does she want to gift to us? She wants to do that because she said, look, I've made my millions as a religious scientist. I've made my millions by going to the Seattle Center for Spiritual Awareness and learning these spiritual practices. And these spiritual practices, I want to begin to teach other people. And so she wrote this book, and she's going to come and do this workshop. You can sign up for the workshop in the back, and the book is on sale, $20, and that includes all of the tax and everything. And I'm hoping you'll join me. I want to do this. I want to just practice this for the next 30 days myself. I've decided I want more money in my life, my personal life, George's life. And I also want more money in the church's life, your life. And I also want more money, more people to come to the church. Those are my goals. I don't know what your goals are. Maybe they're nothing material at all. Maybe they're more compassion. Maybe that's a stronger relationship with your beloved. Whatever it is. I want us to work together for a while, these 30 days, to see if we can't get on this path to wealth and being well people in whatever area it is in our lives. So here's the thing. Next 7 weeks, we're going to talk about, she calls these the 7 spiritual steps for financial abundance, and we're going to go over these. But before we get into those, we need to build a foundation. We need to build a foundation so we're ready. And the first thing she says we need to do to build a foundation is to begin to partner with who she calls the all-knowing power of the universe. We need to make partnership up with the all-knowing power of the universe. Whatever you want to call that. You can call it God, Allah, Elohim, sacred grandmother tree, spirit, goddess, yourself, the chair. It doesn't matter what you call it. She calls it the chief spiritual officer, her CSO. Here's what she says about her CSO. As my trust in the universal power matured and I grew in my partnership with the CSO, my success and prosperity increased immensely. The work also became easier because I felt increased peace and happiness. The work didn't seem to be as burdensome, and at times it felt like I was actually doing less. That's what happened when she began to partnership up with her CSO. May says that her CSO and each of them have a job description. And when they follow the job description in their life, then she's able to receive that which is she wants. She understands that both are competent. She's competent because she's a child of God. And the CSO is certainly competent because it is God itself. So she said competency is not an issue. The issue is whether she's willing to do the work. So how simple is this work? It's very simple. It's simple, and she said, how does it work? You decide what you want, and you thank the CSO in advance as if it's already here. Now, you've heard that before. If you've read The Secret or watched The Secret, you've heard that before. If you've come to Foundations or watched Foundations, you've heard it before. If you've gone to Prosperity Plus 1 or 2, you've heard it before. If you read the Bible, you've heard it before, because that's exactly what Jesus did. When he went to the tomb of Lazarus, what did he do? He said, "Thank you, God," because Jesus understood gratitude is causal. He went there with an intention. Gratitude is causal in our life. So as we take this journey, we're going to begin to deepen our work with each of these 7 steps, including gratitude. See, your job is to take each one of these steps and sometimes ask for further direction as you're on the step along the way. May says that the success that she has received over the years, including the $100 million business that she raised, and those other businesses were very, very successful also, but that was the most successful one. She said when she did her job, which is working with the CSO and practicing these 7 steps, and the CSO did its job, which it can't not do, because that's what it is, it's supply itself, she was able to receive what it is that she wanted. So developing your relationship with the CSO is one of the most important foundational things that you can do. She said, May says, every successful business leader knows that every day you begin your day with a meeting with your top management to discuss your success plans and your goals. Every single day you meet with your top management to discuss your goals and your success plans. Now, you know who else knows that? All the practitioners in this room, we know that. All the ministers in this room, we know that. That if you want to have a successful day, you have a morning meeting with your CSO. And you plan out what your day is going to be successfully in that area. The daily meeting is your path to your well-being. Now, here's the thing. You got to make time for it. You got to make time for it every day for 30 days. You got to tell the kids, you know what? I made your lunch last night. I've got a meeting in the morning. It's a very important meeting. Don't disturb me because I've got this meeting. You yourself may have to lay out your clothes the night before so you get it just right and you don't have to worry about it that morning, so that you have time for your daily meeting with your CSO. May reminds us that consistency is the key to this practice. And you have to do it every day for 30 days. So you do it for 10 days and you stop for a while. Go back and do it for the 30 days. But my hope is that starting today, all of us will begin to do this, and we'll do it together. And you know, the synergy of this whole entire church doing this together will absolutely shift what it is that we want in this life. So if we can do it every day for 30 days, you know what happens is we stop, don't we? We stop. Something else looks like it's good. How many people, don't raise your hand. Some of you have been in yoga classes. I used to do Bikram yoga. And you know, if you do yoga for a while and then you stop doing yoga for a month, you could do yoga for 6 years. Then you stop doing yoga for a month and you go back to doing yoga, you're like the Tin Man. You know, it's hard to do all that stuff. Why? Because you weren't consistent. You weren't consistently following it. See, I always amaze myself because I get an idea and I'm good for a few minutes, I'm good for a few days, I'm even good for maybe on a week for occasion. And then something shiny happens over here, or there's a new pill over here, or a new idea over here, or a new way of doing it that somebody did and they're successful, and now I want to do it that way because they're successful. But had I stayed with my own program and been consistent, I would have been successful at the time. You know who knows this? The diet industry understands this. There's no such thing as competition in the diet industry. They don't care how many more new things come out because they know that we'll chase after every new thing and we'll go back to every old thing and we'll chase new things and go back to old things. They understand how to get their billions in their pockets because we are not consistent with anything that will work. Very often we're consistent when crisis happens in our life, aren't we? We're really down. We don't have anywhere else to go. And that's when we get serious about getting consistent. That's when we get serious about doing our spiritual practices. See, when the problems arise, when the marriage gets rocky, when our sales are down a little bit, when the teenager's going a way that concerns us, when our coworkers aren't acting right, that's when we get consistent about our spiritual practices, at least for a moment. But here's the thing. We're going to start asking our CSO for help in getting consistent so that we can be successful. This series is designed to support us in being proactive in the success in our lives, not reacting to it, but in being proactive to our wealth in our lives. So over the next couple of weeks, we're going to practice consciousness as we learn consistency as we learn these 7 practices. Now here's I'm going to tell you a pitfall that you could fall into if you're not careful. And that pitfall is this. These are 7 simple practices. And what happens with simple practices is we get into the I've done that. I know that. I've been there. This doesn't work. I'm going to ask you to go with a child's mind, as Jesus had said. Go with a beginner's mind, as Buddha says. Come to this practice with me as if you hadn't done those practices before. Because yes, if you've been coming here for a while, you have a grateful heart. More of a grateful heart than some others do. If you've been coming here for a while, you understand the importance of reading uplifting material. If you've been coming here for a while, you know how to ask for what you want and not what you don't want. I'm saying, you know all that. Let's take it deeper together. Let's really get into gratitude practice, uplifting practice. Let's really get into how it works and why it works together. So let's go to the first. We're just going to touch on this. I'm going to go in deeper next week to this one and in the next 3 or 4. There are 7 of them. We'll take the next 7 over the next couple of weeks. But I want to just hit upon this one today. And the first agenda item on your meeting with your CSO. Now remember, you're meeting every morning. Your CSO. Here's your first agenda item. Read something uplifting. Read something uplifting. Something that makes you happy in your life. Now, it doesn't have to be spiritual. It has to make you happy. It has to move you from a no consciousness to a yes consciousness. It has to expand that. See, each one of us, no matter whether we grew up in a functional family or a totally dysfunctional family or somewhere in the middle of that, we all have a lot of no consciousness in us. We have a lot. We need additives for our soil, the soil up here. We need to have some additives to move from a no consciousness to a yes consciousness. I want to read you a little thing that I found the other day that kind of supports this idea. A UCLA survey from a few years ago reported that the average 1-year-old child hears the word no more than 400 times a day. You may at first think this must be an exaggeration, but consider this. When we tell a toddler no, we usually say, no, 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 no. That's 3 or 4 or 5 times in 3 seconds. If that child is particularly active, perhaps that child hears more times even a day. And although it's a good thing that they come to understand no early so that they can live to have a second birthday, the bottom line is that toddlers from all cultures and across all lines learn to do what to do by consistently being told no, what not to do. When they grow up, they go to work, and the pattern of speaking and learning is set from the earliest of days. So by the time they hit the workforce, even if they are very positive, energetic, and optimistically focused individuals, they are probably speaking with negative language throughout each and every day without even knowing it. And as I began to look at my life and my language to myself, I began to see how true that is for me. Even though my intention is to be positive, my habits, my habitual way of speaking to myself and about myself is often very negative. So to support our uplifting our consciousness, in getting into a positive frame of mind, it's not to go around and monitor ourselves. By the way, don't go around and monitor yourself this week. Oh, I screwed up. I said something negative 6 times. Oh, I said no to myself. Don't do that. I just gave you that for a little background information, okay? What we really want you to do is start out every single day reading positive, uplifting material. Now, Science of Mind is a great way to do it. Magazines, we have those. I don't know if we have any left. We might have 1 or 2 left. But you know what's also good and people say, oh, this is not literature. This is not spiritual literature. And it's not spiritual literature. It's not. It's chicken soup for the soul. I love chicken soup for the soul. It makes me happy. And is it brilliant stuff? No. But it makes me feel good. All we're trying to do here, we're not trying to get smarter. We're trying to get happier. And that's all we're trying to do, is to get happier with this reading. So try that. And if all else fails, sit down at your computer and Google in the word inspirational stories. And all kinds of stories will come up. Now look, this is not frivolous. This is spiritual work. You want to get on the path to wealth, you've got to shift yourself. You can't say, oh, that's so silly. I don't have time for that. I've got a lot of work to do. I've got children. I've got this. I've got that. The time you spend 2 or 3 minutes reading a positive spiritual story will support your yes consciousness. And negative minds cannot accept they're good. You need positive minds. Now look, be careful here, because your mind, your evidence, your factual mind is going to say, oh, Reverend Georgia, I know a guy who's so negative and he is just richer than God. I just know he is. He may have money, but he's not wealthy. He doesn't know what to do with that money. He's not happy with that money. Not wealthy. His well-being is not intact. We want you to be richer than God, but we also want you to be wealthy, well-being, happy with the money that you have or whatever it is that you want. So I hope you'll stay with this series. Get the book if you can and begin to work with me every day on this, and let's see if we can't levitate this place. And they'll say, oh, that little church over in West Sacramento is just off its foundation. I don't know what it is. It's because we got on a path to wealth. Now, the only other thing I want to talk to you about this morning is in your bulletin, you will find a unexpected income program opportunity. And what that is we're going to ask you for the next 30 days from now until the first of the year to track your unexpected income. Now, let me be clear about what unexpected income is. It's income you have no idea was coming for you. So if you sold a house last month and the money comes in this month, that's not unexpected income. You expected that check. If somebody who owes you money pays you, that's not unexpected income. You expected them to pay you. if a check arrives in the mail from somebody you loaned money to and you thought you'd never see it again, that is unexpected income. If somebody takes you to lunch and they treat, that's unexpected income. If somebody gives you a new pair of boots that you've been wanting for a long time and you couldn't afford them and now you have them, that's unexpected income. So what we're going to ask you to do is track your unexpected income from now until then. Why? Because it will up-level your consciousness from a no consciousness to a yes consciousness. It will support this work we're doing with May's book. Now, you'll notice in there it says that we encourage you, or you agree to tithe 10% of your unexpected income to the church. I want to say two things about that. First, remember you're getting 90% of unexpected income. That's a pretty good return. But the second thing I want to say, and it's dangerous because I've got board members in the room, so if you don't see me next week, you'll know I said the wrong thing. But here's the thing. If you don't do this because you think the church is trying to get your money by tithing, don't tithe to us. Don't tithe to us. Find somebody else to tithe to. Tithe, because tithing isn't ever about the receiver. It's always about the giver. Now, I don't want you to lose out on the opportunity for wealth by telling you not to tithe. But don't tithe to the church if you think it's a scam. Now, if you don't think it's a scam, tithe. We could use your money. But I want you to know it's not critical that you do that here, okay, in order to be a part of this. So I'm very excited about this. I think November is a great time to do it because it's just naturally gratitude month. So we're being supported by the whole universe in the United States that celebrates Thanksgiving at this time of year. So let's really make some major changes here this time. All right, let's take this message into prayer, knowing that there is a power that is greater than we are. Right now, our chief spiritual officer is on the job, competent, and we are competent. So I give thanks for that. I give thanks for all the beings in this church who came here to celebrate, who understand that we are so much more than a label, that who we are on the outside is important. It tells us a story, but it doesn't define us. I give thanks for that. I give thanks for the Board of Trustees for creating an atmosphere in which we can gather and play and pray and cry together and learn together. I give thanks. I release this word into law, and together we say, and so it is.